So this brings me to schools, because what you're saying makes me think that schools will really benefit from social emotional learning. What is exactly social emotional learning, and what are the benefits in schools?
Well, social emotional learning takes the elements of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-management, empathy, relationship skills, and it adds also good decision-making, particularly social decisions, and it folds them into lessons for children that are appropriate to the age.
These are some comments from students right now. I've been struggling with depression. I don't like talking about it, but if I ever don't have my camera on or I don't turn in on time, it's probably because I'm struggling. I don't have a particular issue distracting me right now, but there are times when I'm mentally drained and can't focus too well. Sometimes I have breakdowns because of stress or overthinking about school or feeling overwhelmed about the work. I feel like there should be lessons for mental health. I'm concerned about friends I haven't seen in a while. I think depression is another extreme topic that needs to be talked about. It's just hard when we have a big load of homework I don't usually finish till 8 to 11. I'm very stressed about my grades and all the makeup work I have to turn in on top of the daily work I am getting. I have just been really busy and stressed out to the max. There are 6 foundational skills to gain. Super simple, they're all free, no budget needed. Breath work, accurate thinking, the power of living in gratitude and empathy, the power combination of exercise, sleep, hydration, nutrition, stop speaking negatively out loud, and conflict resolution. Now look, these 6 foundational skills, they build EQ, emotional intelligence skills, right? Self-awareness, managing your emotions, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Those are the 5 basic ones. And the research shows that emotional intelligence skills are more important than academic skills. Now, let's be clear, academic skills are definitely important, right? But emotional intelligence skills are more important in being successful and in being happy than academic skills. And that's from the Partnership for 21st Century Learning, Harvard University, the Carnegie Foundation, the Stanford Research Center, Dr. Yuval Noah Harari, and Dr. Kai-Fu Lee.
The best investment, I would say, is in emotional intelligence and in mental balance and these kinds of skills of how to keep changing throughout your life, how to keep learning throughout your life. We don't have a college degree in mental flexibility, but these are the most important tools. So whatever you choose, you can go to law school, you can go to ballet school, but you should keep in mind that much of what I'm learning might be irrelevant in 20 or 30 years. So whatever else I'm doing, I should also invest in developing my emotional intelligence, my mental balance, my ability to keep changing and learning and reinventing throughout my life.
Now, let's look at the first one, breath work. What does that do? That gives you self-regulation and managing emotions.
Dr. Richard Brown is an associate professor of clinical psychiatry at Columbia University and an author who's done extensive research in breathing.
Turns out how you breathe affects your brain and everything in your body. The stress response system for most people is way overactive, and the soothing, recharging, bonding system is way underactive. Because people are always stressed. They don't realize how stressed they are. They're breathing about 15 to 20 breaths per minute.
Slowing down one's breathing activates the parasympathetic system, bringing healing throughout the body. It improves the mind and body.
My guest today is Patrick McGonigal, the world-renowned breathing expert, author, and lecturer.
We know studied, statistics looking at children. 25 to 50% of studied children persistently mouth breathe. And if a child is mouth breathing, their sleep is impacted. And if their sleep is impacted, they have 40% chance of developing ADD, ADHD, and or a learning disability.
So you think it's all sleep related?
Sleep and breathing go together.
What
If your
happened-
breathing is off, your sleep is off.
Another foundational skill, accurate thinking, that helps you with self-awareness.
We all have so much potential, there's so much possibility for every single person, but it's always, we hear this thing about fears holding us back. And so you really broke down and dissected these. So the first one is fear of failure.
Because you wonder, am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Can I do this? And that takes you out of that space of love, of knowing like you can do the best you can. You can do a good job based on the tools that you've been given, right? Yeah. But we're always judging ourselves compared to someone else. And that's kind of where, social media and a lot of people are experiencing so much anxiety with social media, because now we're in constant state of comparison. But once you say, you know what, I'm just going to do the best that I can. I'm going to give this like 100% and let the chips fall where they may. And that attitude can get you through anything. And I like to remind people, you don't fail until you stop trying.
The third one, foundational skill, is living in gratitude and empathy. And that helps with the EQ skills of motivation and empathy. Living in gratitude creates a focus on what is possible and what is good. Our brain focuses on the negative. We need to learn the skills of gratitude and empathy because it helps you figure out what you can do as opposed to what you can't do, which is where we spend a lot of our time. Empathy is a key to successful relationships because it helps understand the experiences and perspectives of others. And that's from the Greater Good Science Center in UC Berkeley. The other foundational skill, exercise, sleep, hydration, nutrition, and that helps with motivation and self-awareness. You have your students at home, your children at home, your students in your class dealing with motivation situations. This is a big part of it.
Why is movement specifically so important to mental well-being?
I almost don't even know where to begin with this. I mean, you can start with the data. If you just look at the data around the world, every country you can imagine that it has been studied in, every age group, every health status, every gender, every socioeconomic status, people who are more physically active are happier, they have better relationships, they have more meaning in life, they're less at risk for things like depression and loneliness. If you go further than just sort of that kind of epidemiology, and you look at how movement affects the brain and how movement affects mental health, it's as if humans were born to move, and when we are physically active, it puts us in a state of not just body, but of mind to be the best version of ourselves.
But if we're sleep deprived, we're putting ourselves at a huge disadvantage. And then we go to the dark side. All right? Don't be that guy or that girl. This whole idea of sleep is for the weak. So we have to address the cultural connotation that sleep is a bad thing, okay? And that you can't be successful if you're sleeping too much, right? The reality is, when we're sleep deprived, we're radically sacrificing quality. And there's a big difference between doing work and actually being effective, all right? And so we have to address that thing in our mind too. You're not being lazy, you're not missing the boat if you're getting sleep, you're being smart, all right? And I have this really unique opportunity to know some of the top people in the world in financial sphere, in the health sphere. And I'm telling you guys, they're all getting on board with really looking at their lifestyle and focusing on getting high quality sleep.
All right, another foundational skill for mental wellness, for mental health, is stop speaking negatively out loud. You might not have heard of that one, but it helps with the emotional intelligence skills of self-awareness and motivation. The research shows we all have both positive and negative thoughts. Yes, of course, we know that, right? But more of them are negative, and that's a product of the way our brain works in terms of trying to keep us alive. That's a function of the brain, right? But when we speak those negative thoughts and those negative beliefs out loud, they are 40 to 70 times more powerful, and that's powerful in the wrong way, than just simply thinking them. That skill of accurate thinking that we talked about earlier, that helps us learn how to deal with those negative thoughts in the first place so that we don't even think about saying them out loud, right? This is from Baumeister and Braviatsky from Western Case University, 2001, and Porth from Georgetown and Pearson from the Thunderbird School of Global Management, 2013. And the last foundational skill is conflict resolution, which is really a big skill for emotional intelligence, for EQ, social skills, right? The skill of conflict resolution creates the ability to peacefully and equitably resolve disagreements. This skill translates to, oh my goodness, everything after high school, being an adult. This leads to relationship building and community building. That's from Wang and Wu in 2020 and Overton and Lowry 2013.
In the schools with SEL, the data is very extensive and very strong. It shows, for example, there was a study of about 750,000 students who had, half of whom had taken this, half had not. And it showed that for the kids who had SEL, as we call it, social emotional learning, they were better able to manage their emotions. They had fewer fights and arguments. They were more behaved in class. They paid better attention. They had fewer problems. And so those we call antisocial indicators, they all went down. The pro-social, the positive indicators went up. I love school. I feel someone at school really cares about me. I don't feel like missing class. I want to go to every class. Those went up 10%. The negative ones went down 10%. They went down more in schools where it was needed the most, where they had the most problems. And this is interesting. The academic achievement scores went up 11%. So it helps children learn better. In fact, I often talk to business groups and businesses, and if you ask people in business, are emotional intelligence skills necessary for success? The most seasoned people, the top executives, 70-80% will say, oh, of course. Yeah. If you ask educators, they may not know that. Because they're taught that, your math and your language skills, which of course are important, is what's going to help you in life. The truth is, though, the data from the business world and the working world is that those are entry-level skills. Everybody has them. You need to have good math skills, of course. But what is going to make you a good team member? What's going to make you an outstanding performer? What's going to make you an excellent leader has nothing to do with what you learned in schools. The distinguishing abilities are in the emotional intelligence domain. Can you persuade? Can you manage yourself well? Can you empathize? Those are the skills that matter in the working world. So I feel that the school curriculum should reflect that, but teach these skills of future leadership, of future, being an effective worker, a good community citizen, a good husband, good wife, good parent. Teach those in school.